announcement.
Madam Speaker, due to great sadness that we have learned of the demise of Mr. Valaidon Rammardimutu, former Member of Parliament, who passed away on the 11th of May of this year at the age of 72. Born on the 11th of January 1954, Mr. Mardimutu pursued a distinguished career in the field of engineering. He worked as a production engineer and textile consultant. He also served as Chief Executive Officer in several companies in Mauritius and across the region. Mr. Rammardimutu stood as a candidate in the 1991 general elections for the Legislative Assembly under the banner of the Alliance Parti Travaux PMSD for the constituency number 19, Stanley Rosil, but he was not elected. He stood as a candidate in the 1995 National Assembly by-election under the banner of the PMSD for the same constituency, Stanley and Rosil, but he was not returned. In 2005, Mr. Mardimutu stood as a candidate for the National Assembly elections under the banner of the Alliance Sociale for constituency number 13, Rivet des Anguilles and Suyac. He was returned as second member. He was appointed to serve as a member on the Committee of Selection. Beyond his professional and political career, Mr. Rammardimutu was also well known for his dedication to social work and community activities. With these words, Madam Speaker, may I request you to kindly direct the Clerk of the National Assembly to convey the deep condolences of the Assembly to the bereaved family. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the Opposition, I fully associate myself to the tribute paid by Dr. the Honourable Prime Minister to late Mr. Mardimutu Valaidon. Madam Speaker, may I kindly request you to direct the Clerk of the National Assembly to convey our deep condolences to the bereaved family. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Members. I associate myself with the tribute paid to the memory of the late Mr. Valaidon Rammardimutu, former Member of Parliament, by Dr. the Honourable Prime Minister and the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, and I direct the Clerk to convey the deep condolences of the Assembly to the bereaved family.
Papers have been laid. Questions?
Yes, Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've given notice of the following private notice question addressed to Dr. the Honourable Prime Minister, Minister of Defence, Home Affairs and External Communications, Minister of Finance, Minister for Rodrigues and Outer Islands. Whether in regard to the posts of refuse collector and general worker, he will, for the benefit of the House, obtain from the Local Government Service Commission information as to the number of employees recruited in each local authority in the 2026 recruitment exercise, indicating the A, number of rejected applications in the 2026 recruitment exercise, B, number of the 2026 recruits, one whose services for the 2024 recruitment exercise were terminated in January/February 2026, and two, who are subject to police cases and do not possess a clean certificate of character, and C, findings of the inquiry conducted, if any, following accusations of discrimination against the former chairperson of the LGSC, Dr. SM, in relation thereto.
Yes, Honourable Prime Minister.
Yes, Madam Speaker. The recruitment and appointment exercises for local authorities fall under the responsibility of the Local Government Service Commission, which is an independent statutory body. Madam Speaker, let me refer to what was stated last week in this House with regard to Parliamentary Question B652. And I quote, Section 4.2 of the Local Government Service Commission Act, the Commission shall not, in the exercise of its functions, be subject to the direction or control of any person or authority, unquote. Hence, Madam Speaker, no one can interfere in any matter falling under the statute, within the statutory function or internal processes of the LGSC. Madam Speaker, I'm informed that the recruitment exercise under reference was carried out following the reconstitution of the LGSC after this government took office in November 2024. As the House is aware, concerns were raised regarding the manner in which certain appointments took place under the previous regime. Following these concerns and after consultation with the Attorney General's office, advice was obtained to the effect that the appointments were tainted, procedurally improper, and patently illegal. Consequently, the employment of 1,463 employees recruited on a temporary basis was terminated on the 15th of June 2025, following, as I said, legal advice received. Some of the employees took the matter to court. The House will surely recall how the recruitments were made on the eve, Madam Speaker, on the eve of the 2024 general elections, and that the then chairperson is under investigation for possible wrongdoing. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition would be well advised to get information on the modus operandi of the former chairperson of the LGSC, Mr. Banudit Bihari, who transformed the LGSC into a one-man commission. Madam Speaker, it would be apposite at this stage to quote part of the judgment of the Supreme Court on the 23rd of January 2026 in the case lodged against the Local Government Service Commission and the Municipal Town Council of Bakwa, Phoenix. And I quote, "We have found," and I quote from the judgment of the Supreme Court, "We have found that the applicant's appointment was legally invalid. The Commission was entitled to terminate their employment in the exercise of its statutory powers. Neither this Court nor the Commission should be seen as condoning an unlawful appointment," unquote. I'm informed that following the judgment of the Supreme Court on the 23rd of January 2026, the termination process was implemented on the 29th of January of the same year in accordance with the decision of the Court. Madam Speaker, I'm also informed that thereafter, fresh recruitment exercises were carried out by the reconstituted board of the LGSC. I'm informed that these new recruitment exercises were conducted in accordance with the LGSC Act, the relevant schemes of service, and the established procedures. Madam Speaker, with regard to the number of employees recruited as refuse collector and jail worker in each local authority in 2026, the recruitment exercise and information requested by the Honourable Leader of the Opposition at Part A and B of the PNQ, I am tabling the relevant information. If somebody can take it. With regard to Part B2, I'm informed by the LGSC that the appointment to the relevant grades is made on the condition that a clear character certificate be produced within a period of 2 months. So far, this information is being awaited from the local authorities, and once the deadline of 2 months lapses, the Commission will then be in a position to know the exact number of appointed employees who have police cases, if any. Madam Speaker, I need to add that a previous conviction per se should not be a bar to an appointment. Since 2012, the Equal Opportunities Act was amended to prevent discrimination in appointment or promotion where a previous conviction is unrelated to the ability of the person to perform his duties. We also recently voted a new Certificate of Character Bill aimed at preventing certain types of previous convictions from appearing on a person's certificate of character in order to help in the rehabilitation of such persons. In regards to Part C of the question, Madam Speaker, let me state that there has been no accusation of discrimination against the former chairperson. The LGSC is an independent statutory body operating under the LGSC Act, and no one intervenes in its internal administrative matters or its decision-making processes.
Yes, Leader of the Opposition. Your first supplementary question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House whether he is aware of a press article dated the 22nd of April in L'Express, where the former chairperson of the LGSC, Dr. SM, who he's resigned, accused the Honorable Prime Minister of lying and misleading the House.
Lying and misleading the House in what context, Madam Speaker?
We'll get to the context. Again, Madam Speaker, with regard to the recruitment exercise, the Honorable Minister for Local Government last week stated the following, and I quote, this is in Hansard. As the Honorable Prime Minister stated in this House a few weeks ago, the matter was looked into at the level of the Commission, and the new chairperson subsequently tendered his resignation. However, I am informed that as matters presently stand, no inquiry has been initiated at the level of the LGS in relation to these requirement exercises. Subsequently, there is no inquiry report. And the Honorable Prime Minister, while replying to a PQ, stated that the chairperson resigned following an inquiry. Can the Honorable Prime Minister confirm which statement is correct, because there is total contradiction in those two replies?
Really, Madam Speaker, I was given to understand that there was the likelihood of an inquiry being done. This wasn't done.
That's not in the answer. No, Madam Speaker.
Question, no statements. Please, no
He
statements.
stated in his reply
Yeah, you've already said.
that
Now,
there is an inquiry. Now, if it is confirmed that there was no inquiry, can the Honorable Prime Minister inform the House why the chairperson submitted his resignation then?
Well, he submitted his resignation. In his letter, he said for personal reasons.
For personal reasons.
that's what,
Why did he say that you lied? Can the Honorable Prime Minister inform the House whether he has been apprised of the discrepancies raised by my neighbor, Honorable Sababaji, concerning this recruitment exercise?
your neighbor, yes.
I'm not sure what you're referring to. Discrepancies in what?
The recruitment process.
Yeah, there were allegations at the time. We all know there
You
were
don't
allegations,
verify
but
whether
none has been found, and there was
allegations
no complaint,
Don't
there was
speak
no
at the
inquiry.
same time.
And I can tell the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, any public officer has a duty to report any interference or any suspected act of corruption. He hasn't done so, so there was none.
Don't comment while he's replying, please.
Can the Honorable Prime Minister confirm, as stated again by my neighbor, Honorable Sababaji, whether there has been discrimination on ethnic grounds in the recruitment process against one specific community? And if she would wish to come forward with a question, I'll give her way.
Wow, okay, yes.
As I explained, Madam
Very,
Speaker,
please let the Prime Minister reply. Ethnic reasons. Discrimination based on ethnic reasons.
I'm not aware of that, Madam Speaker. There were lots of allegations in the public. I think he quoted an article from the Express, but there was no inquiry, there was no discrimination found. Because there was no inquiry, there was no complaint by the person himself.
Can the Honorable Prime Minister, for example, confirm whether at the municipality of Port Louis, in two cases, the first one where 3 members of the same family, a mother and 2 sons, and the second case where again members of the same family were recruited. Is this the type of recruitment which is in line with meritocracy, Honorable Prime Minister?
That is precisely where there were these allegations. That is precisely.
Sorry?
That is precisely, some people made allegations. That's what I said.
This is true. This is on the list, and I'll table the list. Can the Honorable Prime Minister inform the House whether for the municipality of Port Louis, 50% of the 123 recruits are from one constituency only? That is constituency number 2. Somebody must have had the lion's share, Madam Speaker.
Can you confirm that, Prime
I
Minister?
cannot confirm that because I don't interfere in what the LGC does and doesn't do.
I'm tabling that list, Madam Speaker.
I'm sorry, you're tabling which list?
The list
Of those people who had been recruited
by the municipality of Port
of one constituency, right? Constituency number 2, that's what you said?
Of the 4 constituencies.
Stand up for speaking.
Madam Speaker, of the 4
Oh,
constituencies
you have the
falling
whole list.
under the municipality of Port Louis.
Okay, okay. You finished?
Can't table. I can table. I can table. Can the Honourable Prime Minister confirm whether he has received representations from elected members, including from his own party, alleging that the recruitment process was unduly influenced by political interference? And if this is the case, what remedial action has been taken, Madam Speaker?
Again, Madam
I
Speaker,
can't hear the Prime Minister.
again, innuendos, and I don't know where he's getting all this information from. I was surprised that he said he has a list. I don't have a list.
May I
I
have
don't
a
know
look?
how you have a list.
May I have one moment, Prime Minister? I want to have a look at the list to see what kind of list it is. I'm sorry, can you help me, please? This is a list from the Post, Mauritius Post. Where'd you get that list? Please stand up. Tell me which list it is. I'm not rejecting the list.
I'm saying this is the list of recruits at the level of the municipality of Port Louis, Madam Speaker.
We have to know, where did you get it? It comes, may I do my job? May I be allowed to do my job, please? I want to know, where did you get the list? This is the rule. You know
I'm
that.
not supposed to tell you where you got the list, Madam Speaker.
You're not supposed to tell me. I will keep this. Okay. No, it's all right. You don't absolutely have to disclose your source. Okay. I will let him lay it on the table of the Assembly for what it's worth. We cannot force him to give his source. Okay, you can take it. All right, next question. Yes.
Madam Speaker, that list contains, I presume, real names, unless it's been invented, unless it's fake. But if ever they contain real names of real citizens and addresses, would this not be a breach of the data protection law?
That's it. Okay.
You don't care about the law, do you?
Shut up, all of you, please. Members, donnez-moi le temps de dire, because it's a very sensitive issue, I'm going to keep my ruling and take time to consider. So for the moment it's here. I have not rejected it. Let it be here. Give me time, Leader of the Opposition. We will see. Because you don't have to disclose your source, but there is, of course, that question of names and details of other people. So give me time to give a ruling, okay? Carry on with your other questions.
Let me come back to the certificate of character. Can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House whether among the newly recruited workers, some who have committed offences are still working?
As I said, Madam Speaker, if the Honourable Leader of the Opposition had listened carefully, there were amendments made to the law in 2012 that, let me record it. The Equal Opportunities Act was amended in 2012, to prevent discrimination in appointment or promotion where a previous conviction is unrelated to the ability of the person to perform his duties. Now, as far as I remember, 2012, it was the MSM who was in government, not us. You amended the law. Huh? Oh, sorry, it was us. But furthermore, a new certificate of character bill aimed at preventing certain types of previous convictions from appearing on a person's certificate of character in order to help the rehabilitation of such person. It goes, therefore, with the amendment of 2012, and then so that he doesn't stay as a Damocles on the head of the person. That was the reason.
Your next question.
Yeah, Madame la Présidente, si le gouvernement veut être transparent et
Non,
de
il y a
montrer
pas de
que la
question.
méritocratie a primé, will the Honorable Prime Minister undertake to table the list of persons recruited in each local authority, including their addresses, qualifications, selection scores, and the composition of the panel that appointed them?
One moment. He said selection scores. Is that what you said as well? Names, addresses, and selection. Yes, Prime Minister. Yes, Prime Minister. Can you give that kind of list?
I'm not sure I can, Madam Speaker, but I will seek advice whether I can or not. But the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, again I remind him, he should look what happened when he was in government. The MSM of the modus operandi of the then chairperson of Mr. Bihar, the chairperson of the LJC. He turned it into a one-man commission. All this happened under their regime.
Yes, all right. Next question. Bear in mind that anybody who's unhappy can always go to the PBAT and to the court.
Yeah.
And I think we heard that there were cases in court.
Yeah,
Bear
that I know,
in
but my
mind.
duty is to put questions
Of
in this
course,
House,
of
Madam
course.
Speaker.
And I appreciate
Now-
that you're doing so.
Madam Speaker, concerning the board of the LGST, can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House when a chairperson will be appointed?
It's being done this week, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Is he aware that certain recruitments and promotions in local authorities have been delayed now for almost a year?
That is absolutely not true. He just gave a list of persons who were recruited. Now, how can you say it was 1 year?
Okay. Honourable Duval. Honourable Duval.
May I ask the Prime Minister, in fact, I'm reiterating from my last PQ, there were 1,463 workers who had been terminated after working 16 months, and that contributed to their pension fund, an amount of 1,084 rupees monthly, total of 17,000 rupees. Can the Prime Minister, the Minister of, to whom the subject was addressed, did not answer, now that you are Minister of Finance, can I ask the Prime Minister whether he will see to it that these sums are reimbursed to those persons who has contributed in vain 17,000 rupees.
And look into this, but again,
Can you consider?
I can consider, but I will have to look into it carefully because the court said that we will write that it was right to terminate their appointments because it was unlawful.
Yeah. Question is, don't talk, Mr. Duval. I like it when you stand up. Please do that. And, yeah, of course.
Well, Madam Speaker, it follows that if it was unlawful, then no contribution ought to have been taken, therefore be reimbursed.
Prime Minister said he would look into it and consider.
Well, if we follow that logic, then they will have to refund whatever they were paid. You want us to refund whatever they were paid as well?
Well, anyway, no comments. Anybody? Okay, so we finished with... Yes, okay.
Now, if the former chairperson was not the subject of any formal finding of wrongdoing, will the Honourable Prime Minister reconsider the circumstances of his resignation and reinstate that gentleman?
I said,
Prime
Madam
Minister.
Speaker, I think on the 20th of April, he submitted his letter of resignation, and he said it was for personal reasons. I take it, but I could be wrong, I take it, when the former leader of the MMM resigned, a lot of people resigned, maybe that's what the reason he resigned.
We don't know. We don't know. He resigned. That is what we have. Factually, I mean. That's what we have. Okay. Honourable Leader of the Opposition, thank you. Okay, time up. So now we go to questions. PMQT. Yes, Mr. Duval.
Yes, B709.
I thank the honourable member for raising this important matter. At the very outset, let me remind the House that the protection of freedom of expression and the right to privacy are enshrined in our Constitution. Any form of unlawful interception or tapping is a direct violation of the Constitution and of the fundamental rights and liberties enshrined in our Constitution. As I have reported to the House in my earlier statements on this subject, the previous government had installed, at enormous cost to the public, enormous cost, a very sophisticated electronic mass surveillance system to spy on every Mauritian indiscriminately. They were spying on everyone, Madam Speaker. On you, Madam Speaker, on me, on the Leader of the Opposition, on the former Prime Minister, on every member of this House, including ministers of the government. The Honourable Member himself was spied upon. His father, who was a minister at the time, was also spied upon, on his family. Not only that, Madam Speaker, on the judiciary, on the civil society, on diplomatic missions, on every family in their home, and intercepting the private data. The system was intercepting in real time every digital communication, every one of them, every telephone call, every email, text, messages, social media communication of every man and woman and young person who happened to have a mobile phone or an email. And they were storing it in a secret data center for examination by their own chosen agents, handpicked, and for the purposes that had nothing to do with national security or the investigation of any crime. If you even clicked to like a social media post, like many people do, on YouTube or Facebook or TikTok, the system would secretly harvest your action and store it for their use. Madam Speaker, as I reported to the House last year, on my orders, that system was dismantled, shut down, and rendered inoperable. It was a grotesque abuse by a sinister regime intent on perpetuating their power. It was also illegal and a serious criminal offense, and I can inform the House that a criminal investigation is underway. I'm informed that arrests have been made and more will follow. I am necessarily, Madam Speaker, constrained because there's the amount that I can say concerning this serious, extremely serious matter. But those grave and illegal abuses of the private lives of every citizen in this country should not blind us to the need for Mauritius in a turbulent and increasingly perilous world to ensure its freedom and security are not threatened by those within or without, and we want to put an end to that. The properly authorized and legitimate use of covert surveillance methods is a time-honored and necessary means of protecting the public. There already, Madam Speaker, exist provisions in our legislation under several enactments for such lawful interception. For instance, Section 56 of the Dangerous Drugs Act, Sections 29 and 30 of the Cybercrime and Cybersecurity Act, Section 32 of the Information and Communication Technologies Act, Section 25A of the Prevention of Terrorism Act, and Section 10B of the Combating of Trafficking in Persons Act. All these laws, Madam Speaker, contain a fundamental safeguard. Any telecommunication interception may only be carried out upon the application to and authorization by a judge in chambers on the basis of reasonable grounds. You must get a warrant for that. This judicial control constitutes a critical protection against any misuse, abuse, or unlawful interception. This government will act within the law, Madam Speaker. However, the House will shortly have the chance to scrutinize and debate the National Crime Agency Bill and its accompanying legislation, which together will introduce the most profound and far-reaching changes in law enforcement that our country has seen since the colonial days, even before independence. That legislation will not address the question of surveillance other than in the investigation of crime, and that only. But with the changing threats and the new law enforcement architecture to which this government is committed, and as part of the government's radical program of reform and strengthening of the institutions of our country, it will be necessary in the near future to consider new legislation. That legislation will place the use of such means in the true and legitimate interests of national security, not the personal and political interests of a particular regime, on a sound constitutional and legal footing. Careful thought is being given to the essential independent structures necessary to guarantee the proper and proportionate use of such tools to be included in the new National Security Act. Madam Speaker, let me remind the House that this government will not allow this country to drift back into an intrusive system where surreptitious eavesdropping was the order of the day instead of protecting the citizen, and where abuse of power was exercised without any restraint at all. We were elected to restore what had been compromised, that is, trust, accountability, freedom, and liberty, freedom of expression, and respect for the rule of law. We must never again return to the criminal abuses of the previous regime, which attracted such powerful and righteous indignation throughout the country.
Thank you.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, in reply to my question last year, February, the Prime Minister gave a guarantee that all equipment had been shut down. Now the Prime Minister says that for judicial purposes, subject to judge's order, there is interception and monitoring. My question is to the Honourable Prime Minister, given that the states still have the capacity to intercept, it is still within the state apparatus, with all the risk of political abuse and misuse, why does he not consider it urgent and necessary to come with an oversight and accountable mechanism like is being done overseas in Commonwealth countries?
I did say, Madam Speaker, the Honourable Member is wrong. There is no system at the moment. There is none. I explained, just said that the system was dismantled, shut down, and rendered inoperable. So there is none at the moment. But what I said in my answer, that we will have to come with new legislation for the purpose of the matters I mentioned, like terrorism, drugs, and all those things, criminal offenses.
Are we to believe that judges' orders are not being complied with by the state?
There is no mechanism to listen to anyone. That is the problem. We are trying to get the people who are at great cost, millions of dollars we're talking about, to relook to, let us see what was in that thing. They are refusing for the moment. Persol is the company concerned. They haven't actually done so. I've requested that we have, instead of going to buy new equipments, we'll have to, but again, under very strict control by the judiciary.
My last question.
Yes.
There is no trust on the guarantees that have been given that the system is not being used. I will ask the Prime Minister to consider urgently, as is being done in the UK with the setting up of the Intelligence and Security Committee of Parliament, to review, which is being, it is reported to a select committee of Parliament on all phone tapping and interference and monitoring activities, as well as a legislative framework, a standalone legislation. It is done there under the Investigatory Powers Act, with a commissioner being appointed, a former judge who is appointed to ensure that there is oversight and accountability. It is ample time, does he not agree, that this be done now in the wake of the moustache leak? And I will end by this. If the former Prime Minister had no idea he was being recorded, how can this one be so sure?
Okay, Prime Minister,
I
that
didn't
is...
catch the last bit of his
Yes, it's so long.
question.
Yes.
With the former Prime Minister, I didn't hear.
In view of the opacity, the former Prime Minister himself did not know he was being on tape. How can the Prime Minister know? Because there is complete opacity. The question is, please consider what I am telling you.
Madam Speaker, it is ridiculous what the honourable members just said. It is the former Prime Minister who got this machine to be installed. And now you're saying he didn't know? You're trying to defend the undefendable. Undefendable. They spied on everyone, including himself. His father, who was a minister, his family. Now you're asking for open house. Security matters has to be security matters. We did say that we bring in new legislation. There is no system, you mightn't believe or you might believe. There is no system to intercept anything at the moment. It's dismantled. But we will come with new legislation.
Okay. No.
First, I'll invite the Prime Minister to consider what
No, you have to
Australia,
ask a question.
the UK and South Africa has done. Second, I haven't provided an excuse for anyone. What I am saying is, how can the Prime Minister, that is not what I said. What I said is, how can the Prime Minister guarantee, if we have had former Prime Ministers on tape in office, that it is not happening to him, given the opacity? That is the question. Do not turn my words. This is not what I said.
I'm not sure what he's saying. He's saying that I'm spying on myself?
No, but you don't know.
I know.
Okay, next question. Next question, Mr. Apollon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B710.
Madam Speaker, the present passenger terminal at Sir Siv Sagaram Ghulam International Airport was commissioned in 2013. Thereafter, most passenger operations were transferred from the old terminal to a 3-story facility adjacent to the present one. Part of the old terminal continued to be utilized for mixed aviation operational, administrative and commercial purposes, while significant areas remain under scrutinized. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part A of the question, I'm informed by the Airports of Mauritius Company Limited that the ground floor of former passenger terminal is leased to airport stakeholders, including Air Mauritius Limited, Mauritius Duty Free Paradise, the National Land Transport Authority for office administration and commercial purposes. As regards to the first floor, it houses the Airports of Mauritius Company Limited, Aviation Training Center, the Emergency Operations Center, the Departure Boarding Lounge, serving for 4 boarding gates and State Lounge, together with associated operational and service facilities. The second floor is currently leased to Air Mauritius Limited and utilized as office space. Madam Speaker, concerning Part B of the question, I'm further informed by the Airports of Mauritius Company Limited that given the strategic location of the old passenger terminal within the airport compound, airport stakeholders have expressed interest for the lease thereof for office and commercial operations. In this context, the Airports of Mauritius Company Limited has established an internal committee to examine options to enhance the utilization of the available space.
Yes. Are you okay? Yeah, okay. Next question, third member for Rivière des Anguilles.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B711.
Madam Speaker, by virtue of Section 8(1) of the Private Security Service Act of 2004, a license or certificate granted under this Act shall, subject to subsection 2, be valid for a period of 1 year. Subsection 2 provides that where a licensee or the holder of a certificate wishes to renew the license or certificate, he shall apply to the Commissioner of Police for renewal in such form as may be approved by the latter, not later than 21 days before the expiry of the license or the expiry of the certificate. Madam Speaker, as regards Part A of the question, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that as at 14th of May 2026, there were 46 registered holders of private security service provider license out of which 31 were renewed licenses and 15 were new licenses. Over the past 5 years, that is from January 2020 to 14th of May 2026, there were in all 28 applications submitted before November 2024, which were kept in abeyance by the former Commissioner of Police. According to the present Commissioner of Police, these pending applications cannot be considered due to the long lapse of time. That is from the dates of the application. The concerned applicants have been informed that they have to submit fresh applications. Since November 2024 to 14th of May 2026, 11 applications were submitted, out of which 3 have been approved and licenses have been issued, and the remaining 8 are under process. Madam Speaker, police has to ascertain that private security service provider license is issued to the right person who is expected to ensure the safety and security of people and property. Therefore, the determination of applications for private security service provider license warrants rigorous and strict compliance with the criteria set out under Section 4 of the Act, which includes inter alia that the applicant for a private security service provider license is required to publish a notice in the Gazette for 3 consecutive days. Members of the public then have 21 days to lodge any objection thereto. 2, the Commissioner of Police has to carry out an investigation with regard to the application as well as to ascertain that the applicant is a fit and proper person. 3, the applicant has to be trained in a recognized training institution with respect to security services. 4, the Commissioner of Police has to ensure that the applicant has adequate facilities to operate the private security service. And 5, upon approval, the applicant is required to furnish to the Accountant General a bank guarantee of 3 million rupees. Though these procedures are lengthy, and I agree they are lengthy, applications for licenses have to be determined within a reasonable time frame.
Yes, are you all right? Yes, Honourable Second Member for Flac Monaco. He's not here. Yeah, he's not in Mauritius. Okay. Dr. Umia, Third Member for Portrush South.
B713, please.
Madam Speaker, first of all, let me clarify that official foreign direct investment statistics are compiled and published by the Bank of Mauritius. With regard to Part A of the question, I'm tabling data on gross foreign direct investment flows in Mauritius from 2023 to 2025 by sector and by country of origin. Madam Speaker, the FDI flows fell from 37 billion rupees in 2023 to 33 billion rupees in 2024, before rebounding to a record high of 48 billion rupees in 2025. While the real estate sector remained the primary recipient of FDI inflows, foreign investment in the financial services sector rose markedly from 974 million in 2024 to 18.7 billion in 2025. That is the financial services sector. This was due to a significant investment in Afrasia Bank and by Access Bank UK. Notwithstanding this increase, higher FDI flows were also recorded in the following sectors. 1, information and communication sector from 192 million in 2024 to 985 million in 2025. The energy sector from 352 million to 1 billion rupees this year, in 2025. The agriculture sector from 507 million to 807 million. Clearly, FDI flows are increasing. With regard to the country of origin of the FDI inflows, France and South Africa have consistently been the main source countries, amounting on an average to 22% and 10% of the total inflows, respectively, for the last 3 years. Other major source countries were the United States, the United Kingdom, and the United Arab Emirates in 2023. Switzerland and the United Kingdom and Germany in 2024, and Germany and the United States in 2025. It is worth noting, Madam Speaker, that there was a significant increase in investment from the United Kingdom in 2025, largely driven by the investment in the local banking sector. Madam Speaker, while encouraging growth has been recorded in investment flows to certain productive sectors in 2025, there is still need to further scale up such investments with a stronger focus on delivering capital towards productive and high-value added activities. As announced in the 2025-2026 budget speech, our new economic model will be investment-led, productivity-based, and export-driven. Our investment strategy and policy measures are therefore geared towards attracting more FDI inflows into productive and emerging sectors. With regard to Part B of the question, I'm informed by the Economic Development Board that several measures have been implemented to attract greater FDI flows into existing as well as emerging sectors. These include A, strengthening the Mauritius brand through more targeted, data-driven international marketing and investor outreach, aimed at enhancing the country's visibility, improving investor confidence, and attracting higher quality and diversified FDI. B, enhancing the ease of doing business by addressing the weaknesses identified in the World Bank Be Ready report, with a view to improving the overall investment climate and regulatory efficiency. C, widening and deepening market access by leveraging economic and trade cooperation agreements. And D, revamping the rules-based work permit system to facilitate the recruitment of foreign workers and skilled professionals. Madam Speaker, with a view to mitigating the negative impact of the ongoing conflict in the Middle East on our economy, we are also implementing a number of measures to boost such investments, such as, I mentioned it before, the introduction of a golden visa scheme to attract investors and high-net individuals to immediately relocate to Mauritius. B, the establishment of a fast-track concierge service within the Economic Development Board to facilitate and accelerate the process for incoming high-net-worth individuals. And C, the acceleration of the relocation of service providers in the financial services sector through the fast-track licensing by the regulatory bodies in Mauritius with no compromise on due diligence. Madam Speaker, over and above these measures, we are taking new initiatives to further boost FDI inflows in the economy. We are developing a special economic zone at Côte d'Or to attract global technology firms to, amongst others, establish AI data and disaster recovery centers, thereby positioning Mauritius as an exporter of AI services. We will also further develop and modernize our port infrastructure through the setting up of an island container terminal to reposition Mauritius as the leading transshipment hub in the Indian Ocean region. Government is firmly determined to attract greater foreign direct investment into productive and emerging sectors, as I just said, as the key driver of economic transformation. This commitment is focused on fostering diversification, enhancing value addition, and generating sustainable employment. Through continued reforms and strategic investment promotion, our goal is to build a more resilient, inclusive, and forward-looking economy for the benefit of the whole country.
Thank you. Yes. I have been asked not to forget to let you know that PQB 748 and B778 will be replied by the Honourable Prime Minister, time permitting, which I very much doubt you will be able to do. So we carry on. Next question. Ms. Sabapati?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable.
B714.
Honourable member.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that from November 2024 to 4th of May 2026, 2 persons died whilst in police custody and 35 deaths occurred in prisoners' custody. The 2 cases of death which occurred in August and December 2025 whilst in police custody are under investigation. In regard to the death occurring in prisoners' custody, police inquiries have been initiated in all 35 cases, out of which 7 deaths were caused by asphyxia following hanging, 24 deaths were certified as resulting from natural causes, and the remaining 4 cases are still under police investigation. Madam Speaker, with regards to Part A and B of the question, I'm informed that foul play is suspected in 2 cases of death in police custody and 2 cases of death in prison's custody. The two persons who died whilst in police custody had been assaulted by members of the public prior to their arrest by the police in alleged cases of larceny. In this connection, 4 persons have been arrested and provisionally charged for wounds and blows causing death without intention to kill and manslaughter. All 4 accused are currently out on bail. In regards to the death occurring in prisons, no arrest has been effected as yet.
Yes?
I have 4 supplementaries. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
We will see.
Okay.
Start with the first one.
Okay. From the answer given by the Honorable Prime Minister, will the Honorable Prime Minister agree that to dispel doubt due to
Don't ask for his opinion. Remember, don't ask for his opinion. Rephrase your question.
Okay, thank you. From the answer given, will the Honorable Prime Minister inform the House whether government will order an independent judicial and forensic inquiry so as to establish the exact cause, timing, and circumstances surrounding the death, especially in the recent cases of Mr. Jeff Alexandre Perrine and Dylan Somi? Thank you.
That was good. Yes.
In fact, Madam Speaker, pursuant to Section 1110 and 1111 of the District and Intermediate Courts, whenever a person has died in prison or while in police custody, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions may direct a magistrate to hold an inquiry, that is a judicial inquiry, into the cause of death. Based on the outcome of such inquiry, the DPP will advise for further action or whether the case should be filed.
Right. Second.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I ask the Honorable Prime Minister to confirm whether photographs, forensic samples, and independent medical opinions have been secured and whether any prison officers, detainees, or personnel are being investigated for possible foul play, assault, negligence, or concealment of facts?
Thank you. Yes.
The inquiry is ongoing, Madam Speaker. I assume that they must have been done.
Yes.
Thank you, Madame. L'honorable Premier ministre sera-t-il d'accord que cette situation n'est pas saine? Est-ce que le gouvernement...
Encore une fois, vous ne lui demandez pas son opinion. Si
Très bien, je viens directement à ma question. Est-ce que le gouvernement peut prendre à sa charge le coût des contre-autopsies que demandent là où les familles qui n'ont pas les moyens dans ce genre de situation? Je parle là dans la situation de M. Alexandre Perrine et Dylan Somi.
The cost. Normally, it's not for the government to give a counter autopsy, but they will have to be. I'm sure they can raise the money if they want to.
Okay.
Thank you, Madame Speaker. Puis-je demander à l'honorable Premier ministre ce qui est fait par notre gouvernement pour humaniser l'univers carcéral et permettre aux détenus de se réhabiliter tout en maintenant leur dignité? Merci.
That's a tall order. That's a tall order. I already have one there.
For rehabilitation, in other words, measures are being taken for that. I don't know whether you visited, for example, the Melrose prison. Lots of measures are taken there. It was specifically designed for this purpose as well, as not just putting them in prison, but for rehabilitation.
The Prime Minister, maybe you might want to come with a statement later on because of the... Yes.
I know that there's an inquiry going on by the former judge, Lam Shandin. I know his report is about to be delivered.
So, okay, good. Ms. Dawiao, Honourable Dawiao.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Can the Honourable Prime Minister state whether the National Human Rights Commission has been requested to monitor or participate in the inquiry wherever there has been foul play?
My understanding is that they have started inquiries.
You don't ask them, they do it by themselves, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, Mr. Francois?
Madam Speaker,
Don't jump.
with regards to the case of JAP, may I ask the Honourable Prime Minister whether he's aware if the case has also been referred to the Human Rights Commission and any inquiry is ongoing thereof.
Non, mais on vient de parler de ça, là. Non, on vient de dire ça, là.
My
fallait écouter.
understanding is yes.
Yes, okay. Next question, Mr. Honorable Babulal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B715.
Madam Speaker, I wish to refer the honourable member to my reply to parliamentary question B1048 on the 25th of November last year, whereby most of the information requested were provided. But in regard to part A of the question, I am informed by the Commissioner of Police that presently Bel-Air Rivière Sèche Police Station has a strength of 81 police officers of different ranks operating on a shift system. At any one time during the day, there are around 15 police officers on duty thereat, and at night there are about 10 police officers on duty. The regards to part B of the question, there are 2 police vans, one motorcycle, and 2 bicycles attached to the Bel-Air Rivière Sèche police station. Madam Speaker, as I had already informed the House, reinforcement is sought from supporting units such as the Emergency Response Service, the Divisional Support Unit, the Special Mobile Force, and the additional support from neighboring police stations, namely FLAC, Toulouse, Belmore, wherever the Bel-Air Rivière Sèche police station is temporarily understaffed for unforeseen reasons or whenever its fleet of vehicle is engaged. In regards to part C of the question, Bel-Air Rivière Sèche police station has a jurisdiction over around 13 regions with a population of approximately 70,000 inhabitants and covers a catchment area of approximately 41 square kilometers. In regards to part D of the question, from November 2025 to the 14th of May 2026, the Bel-Air Rivière Sèche police station recorded 8,775 complaints and requests for assistance, which have all been duly addressed.
Thank you. Yes. Last question, Honourable Fourth Member for Port Louis North. He's not listening to me. Yes. I'm giving you the chance to put your question.
Thank you. B716.
Madam Speaker, as per the Bank of Mauritius Act, one of the objects of the bank is to ensure the stability and soundness of the financial system in Mauritius. In this respect, the bank regulates and supervises financial institutions and any other institutions which has authority to carry out financial activities in Mauritius. For this purpose, the bank has established a supervision department. As per the bank's organizational structure, the department is headed by 3 directors, 2 for prudential supervision and 1 for anti-money laundering, combating financing of terrorism, counter-proliferation financing, AML, CFT, CFP, in short. The report to the 2nd Deputy Governor and the Governor of the Bank of Mauritius. Currently, there are 2 directors in post. With regard to part A of the question, I'm informed that by the Bank of Mauritius that the directors of supervision are responsible inter alia for overseeing the prudential and AML, CFT, CPF supervision of 18 banks, 6 non-bank deposit-taking institutions, 5 money changers, and 7 foreign exchange dealers. The roles and responsibilities assigned to the directors of supervision are inter alia as follows. First, to formulate and oversee the execution of strategic initiatives and projects in relation to prudential and AML, CFT, CPF supervision. Second, to formulate and implement regulatory and supervisory frameworks for both of them, that is prudential and AML, CFT, CPF supervision, through the implementation of risk-based on-site examination and off-site supervision. Third, to ensure that the relevant legislative framework, policies and guidelines are in place and updated on an ongoing basis in line with the international standards that they are implemented effectively by financial institutions. Fourth, to oversee prudential and AML, CFT, CPF compliance by banks, non-bank deposit-taking institutions, money changers, and foreign exchange dealers, and ensure that they implement effective programs that have adequate governance and risk management and internal control frameworks. And fifth, to make relevant recommendations to the 2nd Deputy Governor for necessary corrective actions to be undertaken by financial institutions in relation to possible deficiencies observed and ensure proper follow-up procedures for the implementation. And 6, to recommend enforcement actions and ensure that appropriate remedial measures are taken by the financial institutions. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part B of the question, I'm informed by the Bank of Mauritius that the Supervision Department was headed by the following officers during the period 2014 to 2024. From the 17th of November 2014 to the 17th of November 2017, Mr. Amar Kumar Bera served as director. He was seconded by the Reserve Bank of India to the Bank of Mauritius. From the 18th of November 2017 to the 3rd of June 2018, the position of director was vacant. During that period, Mr. Chinia, Mrs. Uriman, and Mrs. Chatar Singh Subara, in their capacity as assistant directors, jointly oversaw the operation of the department. From the 4th of June 2018 to the 8th of June 2019, Mr. Ajay Kumar Chudari was the Director of Supervision. He was also seconded by the Reserve Bank of India. From the 9th of June 2019 to the 11th of May 2020, the post of Director was once again vacant. The department was collectively supervised by Mr. Chinia, Mrs. Ariman, and Mrs. Chatar Singh Subara, Assistant Directors. From the 22nd of May 2020 to the 13th of July 2021, Mr. Chinia and Mrs. Ariman were assigned duties as acting directors of supervision. From the 14th of July 2021 to the 28th of September 2025, Mr. Chinia and Mrs. Ariman were the directors. As from the 29th of September 2025, Mr. Chinia was no longer Director of Supervision as he had been appointed second Deputy Governor. Mrs. Ariman continued to serve as Director of Supervision, and from the 23rd of January 2024 to the 24th of September 2024, Mrs. Chatar Singh Subara was appointed Acting Director of Supervision and subsequently as the third Director of Supervision as from 25th of September 2024. Madam Speaker, over the past few months, we have uncovered multiple financial scandals involving various local financial institutions under the former, if I may call it, kleptocratic regime. First, the Silver Bank Limited, which as per the conservators' report, as at March 2024, had 8.1 billion rupees of non-performing loans out of a total loan portfolio of 8.3 billion. Second, the SBM Bank Mauritius Limited, which had written off a massive cumulative amount of 14.34 billion of loans rupees during the period 2014 to 2024. 14.34 billion, Madam Speaker, written off. Third, the Development Bank of Mauritius Limited, which as at 30th of June 2025 had some 400 million of its total portfolio classified as non-performing, of which 304 million relate to 5 companies that are either in liquidation or under receivership. And fourth, Mobank Holdings Limited, which has a negative equity of 2.95 billion rupees resulting from accumulated losses since its inception in 2015. Madam Speaker, when we look at these 4 banks, a total amount of around 25 billion rupees has disappeared from the balance sheet, either in the form of money siphoned off, impaired loans, or loans written off. It's 25 billion rupees, Madam Speaker. At this point, all these point to one common factor: a major deficiency in the supervisory role of the Bank of Mauritius during the 10-year rule of the previous government. The inadequate regulatory oversight by the Bank of Mauritius has allowed these banks to engage in risky and fraudulent practices. Such deficient supervision has delayed the implementation of corrective actions and led to the accumulation of significant toxic assets within these financial institutions. It can expose the economy to systematic instability, reduce investor confidence, and harm the country's reputation as an international financial institution. That is the result of the MSM regime. It is not only the weakness at the supervisory level of the Bank of Mauritius that was wrong, but also the dysfunctioning boards of these commercial banks that led to the approval of toxic loans, because they had boards. We cannot, Madam Speaker, remain silent in the face of this issue. Doing nothing is simply not acceptable. As the responsible government, we are taking the actions required and ensure that the bank carries out its mandates with full independence, greater rigor, transparency, and accountability in the interest of safeguarding the stability and integrity of the financial system. The Bank of Mauritius Act and the Banking Act will be reviewed to align them with international best practices in banking regulation and supervisory oversight. The Bank of Mauritius will look into the role of staff in these supervisory shortcomings and undertake a comprehensive restructuring of its supervision department and a thorough review of the existing supervisory practices. Madam Speaker, in the light of the disturbing information concerning the supervisory role of the central bank, I'm informed that the Bank of Mauritius has taken actions already. One, to review its internal operations to improve its supervisory role, and two, they have asked for the services of a professional from the Reserve Bank of India to reinforce capacity in the supervision department and to investigate previous shortcomings. Government is fully committed to restoring confidence and reinforcing the integrity of the financial system. We will carry out the key reform, strengthen the independence of the supervision of the Bank of Mauritius, and ensure stronger accountability. This will lead to a more robust regulatory framework and a safer, more transparent, and more resilient banking sector.
Thank you. No, I will not. No, I will not, because we. I said no. I said your question was already on my list to be put for next time, to be withdrawn. No. C'est moi qui décide.
But you've called the question. And now
I've called the question.
In the past, other speakers have been given multiple.
I'm going to raise the sitting if you go on like that. Maybe it's unfair. Maybe it's unfair. Will you let me speak? Honourable members, I pray for your indulgence regarding timekeeping. It's true that when the question was put, it was almost time to stop. And because of the importance of the question, I allowed the question. May I speak?
I cannot put the question again. I have no right now to ask a supplementary. You should not have called the question if you would not give me a supplementary. You are depriving me the right of asking a question. It is totally unfair.
I am sure, honourable member, I am sure that you will be able to put a different question. Yeah, never mind, I've given a ruling. Now, members, I have to inform you, unfortunately, I was trying to give a chance to get this question through. So maybe I was wrong, maybe. I am not perfect. Now I have been advised that the following PQs have been withdrawn. B720, B734, B722, B732, B725, B729, B727, B726, B748, B721, B728, and B724. I hope I haven't forgotten anyone. Okay. Next, what I have to say now is that I'm also allowing the Honourable Minister of Housing to reply to his questions before we start with Mr. Lubin's question, because he's travelling tonight, and we all know why he's travelling tonight. So I will allow his questions to be put. First question, Honourable Member for Vacqua, Floréal. Ms. Béranger.
Donc, B741.
40.
Madam Speaker, I am informed that Stella Di Mare Mauritius Limited was granted a 60-year industrial lease over part of the pas géométrique and state land at Les Salines, Kénique, covering an extent of 25 arpents and 25 perches for the construction of a 5-star hotel. The lease, which is valid from the 11th of June 2021 to the 10th of June 2081, was amended in 2022 to allow a change of purpose from the construction of a five-star hotel to hotel development under the Invest Hotel scheme. There has not thereon been, in favor of MIC, any transfer of lease held by Stella di Mare Mauritius Limited. As regards Part A of the question, the annual rental chargeable is 16,305,854 rupees and shall be adjusted every 3 years based on CPI. The outstanding rental, including interest, as of the 14th of May 2026, amounts to 18,953,172.34. Regarding Part B of the question, I'm informed that construction had reached foundation level, but subsequently stopped. Allow me, Madam Speaker, and I thank the member for the opportunity of giving this information. At one point in time, the Stella di Mare informed the Ministry on the 4th of November 2024 that it is proposing to secure financing from the MIC. I'm adding to the plethora of events as recounted by the Honourable Prime Minister. So in November 2024, the 4th of November, the Stella di Mare informed the Ministry of Housing and Lands that it is proposing to secure financing from the Mauritius Investment Corporation to the tune of 425 million rupees and had requested the Ministry's written permission in accordance with Article 5B of the lease agreement to pledge the interest of the lease in favor of the MIC. No permission of the Ministry was granted. And following searches carried out in La Vims, it was found that according to inscription, volume transcribed, the number is there, dated the 6th of November 2024, MIC has subscribed from Stella di Mare Mauritius Limited charges amounting to 425 million as follows. Fixed charge over the plot of state land of 25 acres, 25 perches, and a floating charge on all movable and immovable assets. So what I'm trying to say here is that in spite of the fact that the Ministry refused to give its consent, it did go ahead and obtain the pledge. So as it stands, the situation is as follows. The pledge they hold is null and void. I am also informed that the MIC did at a certain point in time, and it was sometime in 2024, disburse the amount of 325 million to Stella di Mare. And right now it is using, since ever we have come to power, and we've done away with that ridiculous regime that was running this country, and added to the 325 million that was given away as though it was theirs, they are now, the MIC, using all the tools at its disposal in order to ensure that they can recover the 325 million, and my ministry has to recover the millions that is also owed in terms of lease, but there is also another amount that is owed, that is basically the cost-sharing mechanism, which amounts to 38,132,630.10 cents.
Yes?
L'honorable ministre peut-il nous dire si son ministère envisage de transférer le bail à un promoteur pour un projet de villa et d'appartements, sachant qu'à l'origine, c'était un projet d'hôtel 5 étoiles qui peut apporter davantage d'emplois et de devises sur le long terme plutôt que les villas et les appartements?
As it stands right now, I am aware that even though in my view that the pledge is null and void since it never obtained the authorization of the ministry, I have been approached by the MIC and we are working together to ensure that they can recover the 325 million. Now, it will be up to the MIC to inform the ministry of what its board has decided. And once the board of the MIC has decided to come to an agreement for the recovery of the 325, it will be sent to my ministry for my approval as Minister of Housing and Land. And I will then go to Cabinet to obtain Cabinet's approval with regards to the way forward. And at this particular juncture, no, there is no such project or intention to transfer to anyone for any project of any sort at this particular stage.
Okay, your next question. You have one more?
Si possible.
Yes.
Merci. L'honorable ministre est-il au courant que les deux directeurs de la compagnie ne sont pas résidents? L'adresse enregistrée au Registrar of Companies est celle du secrétariat. Donc, n'y a-t-il pas... est-ce que la compagnie n'est pas en train d'enfreindre la section 132 du Companies Act?
Do you know that, Minister?
There is the issue which concerns the need to comply with the Companies Act. There needs to have one resident local director. That's one issue. But right now, what I'm concentrating on is not to get into those little details of breaches that are clearly, that's not only one, there are many breaches. But I have to ensure is not reacting instinctively. Because if I'm to react instinctively and cancel the lease, what happens is that MIC finds itself with a hole of 325 million, and then we end up with simply a beautiful academic solution, whereas the people of this country need us to be more intelligent and conscientious in trying to recoup what is owed by those who have taken it because of certain people who allowed it to be given away as though it was theirs.
Don't get carried away.
No,
Don't get carried
it's the truth.
Yes, Miss Honourable Member, you have another question for the Minister.
Et 754.
Voilà.
It's 754, n'est-ce pas? Yes. Madam Speaker, government remains fully committed to the protection of prime agricultural land for food security, sustainable agriculture, and the long-term interests of our planters and farmers. However, government also recognizes the practical realities faced by those actively engaged in agricultural activities and has agreed to the amendment of Policy A1 of Outline Planning Scheme under the Town and Country Planning Act to allow for the construction of a storage unit cum quarters for workers, watchmen, at a maximum gross floor area of 100 meters square on agricultural plots of a minimum size of 50 perches, approximately 2,115 meters square. This is subject to strict conditions. Now, I have a list of the conditions, Madam Speaker. Now, I can table the list of conditions. As regards Part B of the question, there are built-in multiple layers of safeguards to ensure that this facility is used strictly for its intended agricultural purpose. There are strict size limits for the maximum gross floor area of 100 meters square with ground floor coverage, not exceeding 50 meters square. Space allocation for workers, watchmen is capped at a maximum of 12 meters square. And the list goes on, and I will undertake to table it right away. Regarding Part C, with a view to ensuring a robust monitoring, permits will set clear enforceable conditions attached to land conversion and building and land use permits regarding design, use, and continued agricultural activity. And there will be inspections and sanctions as appropriate. Breaches will entail stop orders, demolition orders, fines, permit cancellations, and other sanctions under the Town and Country Planning Act, Local Government Act, and related legislation. Madam Speaker, the balanced and conditional amendment reflects government's dual commitment to safeguarding our limited agricultural land while supporting those who work it productively. It is a pragmatic step forward, not a loophole. Government will continue to monitor its implementation and take corrective action whenever so required to prevent abuse.
Yes.
Au vu des cas déjà en cours concernant les abus par rapport aux constructions qui étaient déjà permises pour les petites structures sur les terres agricoles, est-ce qu'il n'y a pas là le risque de voir s'accélérer comment je vais dire ça?
Une prolifération.
La disparition plutôt progressive des terres agricoles au profit de terres quasi résidentielles quand le ministère augmente la permission par rapport aux structures qui sont possibles de construire sur les terres agricoles. Surtout à un moment où on parle de sécurité alimentaire.
I understand, Madam Speaker, the question from the Honourable Member. Let me reassure her that at the time of consultations between our ministries and the time the decision was taken to go for an amendment pursuant to the Town and Country Planning Act of 1954, and there were those issues were thought of. And as we speak today, well, before this decision was taken, there were no such guidelines. There was it was open for all to do whatever they wished, and I totally understand her. However, the reason why we've come up with a proper mechanism in the law with proper guidelines is to ensure that precisely such proliferation does not happen. What we have taken into account is what is the best way of managing to ensure that responsible agriculture goes forward and responsible farmers are helped in the process. So once this guideline is there, all that happens that is goes outside the guidelines, there will be proper monitoring and there will be sanctions.
Okay. Yes. I find a third question for you from Mr. Bichuk.
Yes.
I can't find any other question. Do you have any other question, Minister, addressed to you?
No, I do not have any other questions.
Okay, Mr. Bichuk being absent, so I think you're done.
It will be going in as written format.
Yes, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yeah, all right. Then we will go to the question of Mr. Lobin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B735, please.
Madam Speaker, the construction of new drains by local authorities is carried out in close collaboration with the Land Drainage Authority, which is a principal technical body responsible for identifying priority areas, approving drainage design, and ensuring that all projects comply with the required engineering, safety, and standard before implementation. For the financial year 2025-2026, the Land Drainage Authority submitted a list of proposed drainage projects to local authorities on 24th October 2025. Following the submission and revision of cost estimate by local authorities, the overall estimate cost for the drainage project nationwide was revised to approximately 993 million rupees and submitted to the Ministry of Finance on 11 March 2026. I am informed that the Ministry of Finance subsequently indicated that the request would be considered under the budget exercise 2026-2027. Madam Speaker, with regard to the Municipal Council of Aqua Phoenix, I am informed that although no new drain construction works have yet commenced since September 2025, substantial preparatory, technical, and administrative works have already been undertaken. I am informed that consultancy services for detailed design of drainage infrastructure at 11 priority sites within the township were awarded to Gibb Mauritius Limited for a contract value of 2.8 million rupees inclusive of VAT. The consultancy includes hydrological and topographical studies, flood risk assessment, hydraulic calculation, preparation of detailed drawings and specifications, cost estimates, and bidding documents to ensure that drains are properly designed to address both present and future flooding risk. The initial design report submitted by Gibb Mauritius Limited on 5th August 2024 was referred to the Land Drainage Authority for technical approval. Thereafter, several technical meetings and consultations were held between the Municipal Council and the Land Drainage Authority and the consultant following requests for further clarification and amendments. Following additional consultation held on 17 December 2025, 29 April 2026, and on 7 May 2026, revised report was resubmitted to the Land Drainage Authority, subsequently convey its no objection, subject to certain technical conditions for implementation at the 11 sites concerned. In parallel, the Municipal Council has also initiated internal survey and design works for additional drainage projects which are expected to be completed by 31st July 2026. Madam Speaker, I wish to emphasize that construction works cannot proceed before obtaining the necessary technical approval of the Land Drainage Authority together with the required financial clearance. Drainage infrastructure projects involve important engineering, flood management, and public safety consideration, and all procedures must therefore be properly complied with before implementation. I am further informed that on 12 May 2026, the Municipal Council was requested to finalize the bidding documents and revise the estimate for the 11 priority sites so that implementation may proceed once all approvals and financial clearance are obtained. I also wish to reassure the honourable members and the House that the delay is not due to unwillingness or inaction on the part of the Municipal Council, but rather to the need to comply with all technical, procedural and financial requirements applicable to major drainage infrastructure projects. My ministry remains fully committed to ensuring that these projects are implemented in a proper, sustainable and effective manner for the long-term benefit of the residents of Aqua Phoenix. I am tabling all relevant information concerning the drain project sites and the amendment cost estimate as per report submitted by Gibb Mauritius Limited of each site for the benefit of the House.
Yes, all right. Mr. Bijan, if we can do it within 2 minutes, would be fine. Yes, all right.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B736.
Okay.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed that in the current list of projects for the construction and upgrading of drainage infrastructure, annexure to Climate and Sustainability Fund for the financial year 2025-2026, the following projects have been approved and listed as projects under preparation for constituency number 6, namely, first, completion of outstanding drain works at Fond du Sac, phase 1. Second, construction of drains at low-lying points at Cancarol Grand Bay, completion of drain works at Cancarol Grand Bay. Third, drain works at Mosquée Road Grand Bay. And fourth, construction of outfall works from major drain at Fond du Sac, phase 2. Since the above projects have been listed as projects under preparation, the contracts are yet to be awarded, as funds have only been provided for consultancy services up to the bidding document preparation stage for this financial year. Madam Speaker, I'm further informed that the bidding documents for 2 projects, phase 1 of the drain project of Fond du Sac and the project Cancarol Grand Bay, have nearly been finalized. Accordingly, and in line with the budget circular, my ministry has requested funds for the works component of the 2 aforementioned projects for the next financial year. Once funds are made available, bids will be floated. As regards the remaining projects at Mosquée Road, Grand Bay, and outfall works for major drain at Fond du Sac phase 2, these projects are still at the preliminary design stage with investigative works to follow. Madam Speaker, I also wish to inform the House that the project construction of drains near Dugachan Early Government School, Goodlands, which is being undertaken by the National Development Unit of my ministry, was awarded on 25th September 2024 to General Construction Limited for an amount of 14.62 million rupees and is nearing completion. Madam Speaker, with your permission, I am also tabling the requested information.
No, time is up. Time is up. Yes, we will raise until 2:30. J'ai oublié de dire les deux là. Hein? Il faudra qu'ils disent oui.